Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday. You're going to have to bear with me today. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I sound a little different, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here to discuss our topic today, right?
Let's do it.
Do you often wonder how much water you should actually be drinking? There's so much information out there. It gets very confusing. And what's all the hype with these electrolyte drinks, these electrolyte powders? Do we need them? Right? So today we're going to cover how much water you should really drink to stay hydrated, signs and symptoms of dehydration, hydration's impact on aging and the body, hydrating with electrolytes, and how do you know if you're dehydrated and what to do if you are. Right?
Let's do it. Love the topic.
And if you have any questions or comments, make sure you write them in, because at the end we will go over all questions. So as we're talking, just type them in, all right? And if this is your first time joining us today, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. And if you're a repeat, as always, welcome. Love having you guys here. All right. So I'm just going to jump right into the big one. How much water should you actually drink? I tell you, when I was going through all the research on this, it is seems like it's such a gray area, right? It's like this one, site research says this, and this other one says this, and it's kind of, it's very, very confusing. But what we have to understand is there's so many factors that influence this. A person's hydration level, it's unique to that person. It's based on age, activity level, diet, climate, and medications that you're taking.
Sure.
There's so many factors so many factors. So it's not a black and white. It's not just to be able to say, okay, you need to drink this much water every day, because you have to understand if you're one of those, say on many medications, those are going to further dehydrate you, so you have to work a little harder. So a lot goes into it. What is your rule of thumb, Ryan? With hydration, personally. Let's start with personally,
okay.
And then what's your recommendation to everyone else?
I think of the body, the body is a reservoir with different compartments, and we all know, we've heard the body's mostly water, right? It's let's call it 2/3 water, but when you look at it from an intracellular, extracellular, different compartments of different water, concentrations or volumes, between the lungs, the brain, the heart, skin, bone. At the end of the day, you're still mostly water, but it's not just distilled, water. It's a concentrate of electrolytes, which is, typically your sodium, mostly sodium. And that's pretty much what we're going to drill in on today, because I think a lot of the controversy that you'll hear and we'll talk about, we'll probably get some questions on, is the, especially the FDA has a certain recommendation for limiting sodium.
Right.
And the risk associated with people with high blood pressure, primarily high blood pressure, right? And you'll hear that I find that guidance is extremely flawed. And I think mainstream, is starting to adjust to it, even though there's still kind of that relentless push by the FDA. So I get the fact why there's a lot of confusion on this topic and a lot of misinformation. Hydration is important, but not just plain water by itself. Again, sodium is the primary determinant of hydration of the cell. Whether it's intracellular or extracellular, we don't need to get into that. We're not today going to talk about tonicity and osmolality and osmolarity. We're not really going to drill into all these highly
deep
scientific terms, because I think that's probably a little bit more of a deeper dive than it's necessary, just to sort of, distill down what should we know? What do we think is the right advice? But for me personally, I go hard on hydration. I go hard, but I also sweat a lot. I live in a very hot climate, very humid climate,
yes.
And we're on the go a lot. And so certainly I put a lot of effort into my hydration. So I'll drink at least, 150 ounces of water a day. And some of the guidance that I've heard is a good guideline is half your body weight in pounds, you should drink in ounces. So if you're 150 pounds in body weight, you should drink 75 ounces of water a day. That's not exact science by any stretch of the imagination. It's just giving somebody something.
It's a great rule of thumb.
It's a great rule of thumb. It's just guidance. It gives you some rule of thumb. And then there's some other stuff, Lisa. I know I'm jumping the gun probably a ton, because in my mind we were going to save the question.
Right.
Should I pause and let you go?
Well, yeah. So basically, we have
the structure.
Yeah. So half your body weight in ounces of water. It's a great rule of thumb. And can you show them your water ball that you have right there?
Sure.
I don't have mine with me today.
Okay.
So this is 64 ounces. Right. So I know Ryan, we both actually drink probably 2 of these
plus,
a day.
Right.
But again, we are also, like Ryan said, in that situation where we sweat a lot and it's very hot out. So right now, just walking outside, you start to perspire. So it's beyond the exercise and the sauna use that we do on a regular basis. You just have it just going outside. So again, if you're a situation, taking medications, living in a hot climate, exercising, older age, your hydration requirements are different. But again, a great rule of thumb is half your body weight in ounces. So half your body weight in pounds in ounces of fluid. And that fluid can come from other sources. Like say, just example, with Live Good, we have our Super Red. Say you mix your Super Red with 8 ounces of water. There you go. You've got another 8 ounces there. So some other factors can take into play as long as it's not something that is further dehydrating you. Okay, we'll circle back around to a lot of what you were also talking about. So now that we know how much we should be drinking, let's say signs and symptoms of dehydration. And some of these, most of you know, but it's basically, could be feeling thirsty, dry mouth, dark, yellow, stinky urine, dizzy or lightheaded, irritability. And I know headache's a big one. I will tell you, anytime my child comes up to me and is like, my head hurts or I'm tired, I say, drink water. Just drink water, because let's first see if that eliminates it. Because, kids, I feel like I'm constantly running after them, trying to get them to drink more water, because they're ones that wait until they are like dying of thirst before they start drinking water. No matter how much I preach it, it's hard. So a lot of those symptoms can just be dehydration. I mean, you have to recognize cues, but always go to the water if you're starting feeling something. Like instead of you have a headache, instead of jumping and trying to take something to alleviate that headache, like Tylenol, go drink some water. See if your body just needed some fluid. So I mean, any of us can face dehydration if we're not careful about it. So I mean, I know I'm super careful about it, but there's many times that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty, and then I'm like, gosh, why am I thirsty? I have not been staying on top of it. So basically, obviously dehydration is occurring when our body uses or loses more fluid than we're taking in. So you've got to be cognizant of that. And every day may be a little bit different depending on what you're doing. We talked about the weather. We talked about exercise. All play major roles in it. Anything to add to that? I mean, I feel like that was very streamlined about our signs and symptoms of dehydration.
Yeah. And, body composition is another one. So we talk about water compartments and things of that nature. Fat doesn't hold a whole lot of water. I don't know if it's 10% maybe, whereas muscle has 75% water. I mean, so you're talking about a big swing from one individual to the next,
right,
as far as water composition goes, water content. And, so like you said, there's medications and there's things and there's caffeine, there's alcohol, and not to say that they're truly dehydrating, because I don't think they are, but they can still, in a way, act as diuretics. And a lot of times that's, of course, the way that people will lose a lot of their sodium too, is so urine, of course, sweat, perspiration is sweat, respiration, just breathing. One of the reasons why we wake up in the morning, first thing after 8 or 9 or 10 hours, whatever it is, sleep, we've been sitting there just breathing something,
right,
breathing it out. And we're just not well hydrated. We haven't been consuming any fluid. So it's one of the reasons why we always preach that first thing in the morning, let's get that glass, big jug of water down. So,
yes.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a great amount of content that comes out of this, and I'm probably sure we'll just scratch the surface.
Right. It's a lot. Hydration's a big topic.
It is.
Okay, so let's talk about hydration's impact on aging in the body. Okay, this is a big one because, first of all, with aging, we all think it's like our physical appearance, and that's part of it. But what you have to understand is our organs age, and those are highly affected. The rate of aging of those is highly affected by hydration. So you have to keep that in mind, right? It's not just about, I know like you can be dehydrated and your skin shows that, but it's also got to think, your skin's an organ, but you have to think about the organs that you can't see. And it's really important. Like we all want to age gracefully. You can't stop the aging process, but you can slow it down, right? So very big on that. So dehydration can lead directly to an increased rate and speed of aging. Let's say, what was I going with? This is like where my sick brain is right now. Just daytime energy. You kind of talked about it with first thing in the morning. So sure. Not only when we're sleeping, are we, like Ryan said, we're breathing, we're losing fluid in respiration. Sometimes we sweat a little bit when we sleep, but we're also going that 7 to 9 hours without much fluid intake. Maybe you have a cup of water by your bed and take a couple sips if you get up to go to the bathroom, but that's not really relevant. We're not hydrating. So when we wake up, we are waking up basically in a dehydrated state. So you want to start with that fluid intake, but that also can help you with daytime energy, right? So again, dehydration, you could start to, feel like a lack of energy. So you want to start that day off right. So really getting in for that daytime energy. And
well, I was going to say some other ways that you might feel like if you're not properly hydrated. And, again, maybe there's a difference between dehydration and volume depletion. So, again, try to excuse us for not being hyper technical on the terms, but kind of referring to the same thing. If you just don't have the right balance of fluids, you can have low energy for sure, right? You can have headaches that you talked about. You can have cramps. You can have, moodiness and irritability and different signs and symptoms of that, like that. But you also recognize that the body maintains a very strict range of like sodium, potassium, magnesium. These are kind of your three main electrolytes we're talking about. And when it gets low or doesn't have enough supply, it pulls from other compartments of the body. So it will pull it out of your muscle. It will definitely pull it out of your bone. So people that are just sort of, chronically imbalanced or dehydrated, they potentially have a more higher risk for osteoporosis. Yeah. And there's some other disease states, where it's like mitochondrial function and cellular health. And so metabolic health then becomes a big factor as well. Now, I hate this because I keep going in my mind. I just want to go back to the problems of society with the way the processed foods are so front and center and the things that we rely on. Like most times you would expect to get like 20% of your hydration from food. You could get a good chunk of water out of foods, but not in the standard American diet, not in the food processing the way we do it today. As a matter of fact,
you can't go get a bag of chips from the grocery store and get some fluid from that.
But this gets where the confusing part is. But you get a lot of sodium. Right?
Yeah.
In your processed foods, you're getting an ultra amount of processed food. So there's sodium in there and, these things. But that's the problem is those folks are also probably sedentary. They're rather unhealthy. They're metabolically unhealthy. And it's not like those are the types of people really right now that are paying much attention to their sugar, right? Yeah. Which is to me, is the villain.
Bigger concern.
Like that's what we really need to kind of be focusing on. And that's when I get into talking about the why we should avoid sodium with blood pressure issues and things of that nature. That's what we'll talk about here in a moment. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Right. It's hard.
It is hard, yeah, because you just kind of want to go through and rip the reasons why society is wrong on the way we treat food and regulations and all that. So
sure. And there's a big factor in hydration and performance. And, a lot of times we think about that just for athletes that are like concerned with hydrating and performing well. But like we all have to perform every day. Maybe it's not an athletic event, but we're here working, we're doing something, we have to perform, our brain needs the fluid, so it's crazy that we only think of it like that. And just like simple things, like last night I was out breaking down recycling boxes, and again, it's so hot where we are right now. Like I was out there just doing that. I'm not really exerting myself, but like I was sweating. So I need to like replace that. You need to constantly replace just to have regular performance.
Yeah, again, like, so you're talking about hydration. I'm talking about like the sodium part, because sodium and potassium are part of, so like muscle contractions, nerve signals, nerve impulses, they all work by an electrical, like membrane potential. They all work similar to, it's like a battery, the way we work. And so the electrical membrane potential, it causes these contractions and it causes these nerve impulses and these synapses. So when you're not well balanced and have enough sodium, enough potassium, you can suffer significantly. And so that's why I kind of keep coming back to is that, the body's telling us what it needs, and many times we're not feeding it the right nutrients, minerals, salts.
Yes.
Such.
So we're going to lead right into the hydration with electrolytes. So we just covered hydration and the aging and what it does to the body, and obviously hydration level directly affects your speed and rate of aging. So we want to make sure that we're hydrated. I always used to say to my clients too about your muscle when you were just kind of talking about muscles. I'm like, do you want your muscle to look like a beef jerky or like a nice piece of steak, right? You got to think about that's the hydration of your muscle. I mean, just to have like a visual of like what is going on when like your fluid is taken from your muscles because you're not hydrated.
They say the snap back of your skin. So when you pinch the skin and how fast does it snap back, the sagginess, the droopiness of the skin underneath the eyes. There's different ways, to assess hydration status, and it's not very easy.
Right, for sure.
It's not an easy.
All right, your eager beaver topic, hydration with electrolytes. Okay, so obviously electrolytes, charged minerals that help you stay hydrated. Body loses water and electrolytes from sweating, exercise, illness, diarrhea, all that kind of stuff. So we have our lovely hydration
just
amplifier,
launched it.
which
It's
is
awesome.
our Live Good hydration amplifier, which we just launched. Very proud of it.
Stick packs.
Yep.
Single stick packs. 30 stick packs in the bag.
Yep. So it's easy on the go. Take it anywhere you go. Make sure you have it. With Live Good, we have if you're new to us, we do have a membership. So if you're a member, that's $19.95 a month, or sorry, $19.95 for the product for 30 days. If you're a non-member, $24.95. Regardless, the prices are outstanding, and Ryan will go into detail about our ingredients in there and kind of what sets us apart from others. But Ryan, I mean, electrolytes have so many benefits throughout our body. You tapped into a lot of them. So, sum it up. Why should we all be hydrating with electrolytes? Beyond the fact of we're losing fluid and all that,
Sure.
or when we're losing electrolytes, why are they so important for us?
Man, we just went over it. Exactly. Everything we just said. I literally just answered that question, I think. So I would say that when you're looking at the electrolytes, you've got sodium, potassium, magnesium. The magnesium is not a major player in this formula. You'll notice there's about 60 milligrams, which is the sweet spot. The scientific studies have shown that for rehydration therapy, so oral rehydration therapy, and you'll notice we left out glucose, which we'll talk about in a second, but electrolytes are your primary determinant of cellular hydration. It's simple. The way that the intracellular and extracellular system works, there's an actual pump, there's an actual mechanism to which sodium moves across, to which potassium moves into the cell, and so you'll notice that's why we balanced this out the way we did. It's 5-to-1 basically. So you'll see that there's 1 gram of sodium per stick pack, 200 milligrams of potassium, and that's your sweet spot right there. The magnesium, we use magnesium glycinate. Again, it's our favorite form of magnesium, 60 milligrams. We added acerola, vitamin C in the form of acerola, which is awesome. So 100 milligrams there as well. And it's a super clean formula. And we use an organic flavor, organic juice extract. And so it's nice. And when you mix it with water, it's a lemonade flavor. It's the first of probably other flavors we'll launch. But going back to the reason why electrolytes are so important is whenever you're trying to hydrate, there's osmosis. Osmosis is the term most people follow.
Right.
It's a concentration gradient that water will flow into. So having the proper amount of sodium and potassium in the right ratio will increase the amount of water that's pulled into those two different compartments. So science has shown this. You typically don't need sugar unless you're some extreme endurance athlete. And you know how we feel about sugar. We really try to treat it as the villain that it is. With few exceptions. There are a few exceptions. Of course, glucose could be beneficial in some cases to drive in water, but I don't think we're talking that those are extreme examples right now. And if you are one of those people, then you can access glucose packs and different ways to get your sugar at the same time.
That's extreme athlete, performance,
yeah.
high performance level. Nothing pains me more when someone's taking an electrolyte powder or drink or whatever it is, and it has your electrolytes, but then it's also filled with a ton of sugar.
Another junk.
99% of us don't need that.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about these elite athletes need to replace that glucose for sure. There were some good questions up a little higher too, but
yeah, sure.
This one, just where we're going. But so real quick, again, Ryan talked a lot about why we need to hydrate with electrolytes, the importance of it. This is crucial for everybody. Great idea to have one a day. Sometimes if I am experience a lot of sweat loss, also I'm sick right now, so I am doubling up, just making sure I'm getting everything I need. But one more thing I want to cover is how do you know if you're dehydrated? I know we a little bit talked about this. A lot of times you like to think, oh, I'm thirsty, so I'm dehydrated. But your body actually loses 2 to 3% of fluid before you begin feeling thirsty. So you have to just recognize that, because sometimes when we feel our first thirst, we're not jumping for a drink, or maybe we don't have one with us, whatnot. So you have to just constantly stay on top of it. And I want to talk about a little bit of ways ideas that you can help yourself do that. So again, Ryan has his big water bottle here. He knows he tries to drink at least 2 of those a day. This is not gulping it down all at once. It's a balance. Another way you could do it is a glass of water an hour for your first 10 hours of the day. It is important to slow down the later half. Otherwise, you're going to be up all night going to the bathroom.
Good point.
So I do try to stockpile more. So think about first 10 hours, your first awake 10 hours. Focus on getting most of your fluid in. They make those lovely water bottles now that have the markers. They actually go hour by hour. That's great help. You can set a timer on your phone or an iWatch or something that helps you know. Until your body is accustomed to drinking the fluid on a regular, as much as much fluid as your body needs. You need to play these little games with yourself, but your body will balance it out. I did see a question on here, you may have like passed it, but how do you get past the feeling full of drinking so much fluid? And your body will regulate. At first you feel full, you feel bloated, and like you're going to the bathroom more than you need to go. Okay, it's crazy, but your body will adjust. So just stick with it. It's with anything, your body adjusts. Okay, so
I agree with that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So
start drinking a lot. It'll take a little bit.
Right. So remember, dehydration is occurring before you feel thirsty. So don't wait for that trigger. We talked about some other signs and symptoms of being dehydrated. You definitely don't want to wait to get there. So keep consistent about your routine. I really think a great rule of thumb is that 8 ounces of water for your first 10 hours, and then start to slow it down. But you got to get the fluid in. I promise you, your body will adjust. I know it's super uncomfortable at first. I also saw another question. It was how much. Oh, if this has our sodium, potassium, magnesium, basically magnesium and potassium, do I need to still take a magnesium, potassium? 100% magnesium. I don't know if you want to tap into the potassium, but this is not. This is not a magnesium itself supplement.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely not. Actually, you would want to definitely take your magnesium. The RDA magnesium is only like a 420 milligrams. There's 60 in here. No, you still want to take the magnesium ultra magnesium complex. Absolutely. Couple of things I want to talk about. Maybe there's a question here. Are we into questions now? Can we jump into questions?
Yeah. So remember, guys, if you don't subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel so you can get all this information you need. We do a live training every Monday at noon, so you don't want to miss that. Don't have it on top of my head what next week is. I was gonna plug that one, but make sure you stay tuned to that and check up on our last week's and the week before. Lots of great information. So if you don't subscribe, you miss all that stuff. As always, like, comment, love your feedback.
Yeah,
so right now we're going to go into questions. We always do questions at the end, and we'll answer the questions that pertain to the topic we're discussing. If your question is something that is off topic, we will pass over it, but you can always find me via email.
Okay.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. Here's one. Yeah, can you shed some light on why this is superior to Gatorade? So the problem with sports drinks for the whole and sugary beverages and things of that nature is that they tend to be hypertonic. Actually, over time of drinking these types of beverages can reverse they do the opposite. They potentially can dehydrate you further. Not to mention they're loaded with junk. Typically there's all that sugar that we don't think we need for the average athlete.
Or how if you have
consumer.
the G2, the one without sugar. There's one of them without sugar, but
then there's a lot of other added junk.
Yes.
Look at the formula, and it's a mess. I do not recommend it. I don't condone the drinking of sports drinks and Gatorade and Powerade or any of those drinks. So
I actually think Gatorade does have dyes. I don't know. There's some of those sports drinks that uses dyes.
A lot of artificial dyes.
So again, you've got to read the ingredients. You've got to read the ingredients, every single one of them, not just like the electrolytes that are in it, please.
Yeah, and so just keep in mind that what you're looking for in the sense of tonicity is something that's closer to isotonic or hypotonic. Like if you go in and get an IV in the hospital because of dehydration, you're going to get something that's basically isotonic, like normal saline. That's the concept. Again, the sports drinks, they're in the wrong side of that formula. They're hypertonic for the most part. Super unhealthy when you really consider everything. And especially if you're trying to consume it consuming more than a few a day. Like I know there's a report showed that dental hygiene is a huge problem too. Like there's a lot of cavities associated with these drinks and such too. So yeah, no bueno, not good. I don't like the sports drinks.
Here's one. This is a good one just because I know that a lot of us have children dealing with this. So we're traveling from the Netherlands to Florida next month. We are not used to the Florida heat. Get ready.
Oh yeah, it's hot.
Can my children 8 and 12 also drink this?
Yeah, the biggest issue with us is not our actual temperature. It's our relative humidity. It's our dew point. So it's basically super high, almost 100% every day. And that's exactly the issue. So let me give you an example of what could be dangerous. Imagine you get up in the morning you're going to travel that day. So you jump on your spin bike in the garage, you crank it out. You don't really drink any fluids. You pack your stuff, you run, you go, you fly. Flying could be dehydrating. Plus, you want to drink a lot because you don't want to go to the bathroom. It's really inconvenient. And you get to where you're going. Maybe you go out, you stay out late, you have dinner, you drink drinks, whatever it might be. The next day, you're completely wrecked. There's an example, right? So this stuff happens all the time. So One, so you're asking two things. Those are a great example. I'm glad you reminded me of that because that really did happen and it was something I was thinking about. And then the other thing is children. Yes, children can consume these. This is absolutely a viable alternative to those sports drinks that those kids are drinking on the side of the field, 100%. And again, it is a stick pack. You can easily mix in a bottle of water, or you can add more water to further dilute the flavor if it's too strong. I don't think it is, but that's to your personal preference.
Right. I mean, I like to put it in a big jug and just drink it throughout the morning.
Yeah. But definitely,
and you could also split the dose for your children. You could take a packet, half and half in their water bottle.
Half is a good call. Yeah, a couple times a day. And it's another opportunity. We say this about our children's gummies. Another opportunity for you to talk to your children and show them the label. And they don't have to be experts on reading supplement facts, but they should be able to read the sugar content. I don't know how old you said your children are, but I'm sure of the age, right? Yeah.
8 and 12.
8 and 12. Yeah, they can read. So perfect. There you go. And that will help them start processing, oh, the Gatorades are high in this, or the drinks, sports drinks, or the sugary beverage. And, these are a beautiful way to do that. Start introducing those kids to healthier reading labels. And well hydrate before you get over here, and then keep it rolling. Don't stop.
I'm going to go for this one. There's a couple questions that had to do with either E3 or aminos. So I'm taking essential aminos and E3 daily. Are there additional benefits in taking this new product? So again, if you're new to Live Good, or if you don't know a lot about our products, we do have an essential amino acids, and we do have an E3, which is kind of like our energy drink. They both contain some electrolytes, but it's not like a potent straight electrolyte as this. So yes, major benefits into doing all of it. So again, just because a supplement has a little bit of something in it doesn't mean it's enough to fulfill that category.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, you can find a couple of. So can you can hide that now. Oh. So can you overhydrate? I know that people say that's possible. It really, it happens in the hospital probably more so than anywhere, just with the wrong balance of fluids under IV because you're just like fire hosing it in there. But as far as drinking, you would really have to work hard to figure out a way to overhydrate yourself and become like hyponatremic, which, it can be very dangerous, but we're certainly not suggesting you drink more than a reasonable amount of fluids every day.
I'm going to hit this one just because I know it's a common question.
Okay.
You already kind of tapped into it. At 43% of daily sodium recommendation, how can we incorporate this into our lives? I want to just jump in there and say, first of all, your sodium intake from food should be controlled by your salt shaker that you use on your table, right? Not what's in the package. That means you're eating packaged food, you're going for that quick fix. I want you to think about that. So like, if I'm having broccoli and I want to put a little bit of salt on it, I'm going to put it on. The sodium intake, the negative sodium intake that we get is from those highly processed foods.
And I'm still not convinced it's the salt that's in those foods. It's the junk.
It's a lot of the other junk, yeah.
So it's contributing to our obesity and our diabetes and our kidney disease.
Yes.
That's where it comes down to. It's where the kidneys get lost and confused when you have all this overloaded sugar and your insulin response and insulin resistance, and it's a mess, guys. It's a mess. And as a matter of fact, studies that the FDA and the government has used to suggest that we should consume less than 2.3 grams of sodium per day are flawed. They're actually flawed. Now they've been there's studies that have shown that too little sodium actually is what causes high blood pressure.
Right.
And then the study the one study they referenced with the rat, they bolus a huge amount of sodium, and of course it can acutely raise blood pressure. You're consuming that high amount, but that's again not what we're doing here. So I'm not in that camp anymore. I used to be, because as a pharmacist I was trained under this Western evidence-based medicine thing, and I think it's flawed. I really do.
Yes, I agree. I'm just going to go to this one.
But that's not to suggest that if you are still consuming a highly processed standard American diet, and then you wanted to start adding in a couple of these packs a day, yeah, you could very easily overload yourself if you're sedentary, already have pre-existing diabetes and other conditions. You potentially are overloading yourself, right? Your kidneys and such. Right. So that's certainly not advised either.
But also know those diabetic medications are dehydrators.
Well, most of the antihypertensives, the diuretics for sure. That's how they basically work. They deplete the body of the volume. They get rid of water and salt, and therefore water.
Right.
Osmosis again.
And more and more of the lifestyle medicine doctors are saying, stop blaming the sodium. Stop blaming the sodium. Start blaming. Oh yeah.
Stop blaming the sodium for what the sugar did.
Yeah, and the other junk, the other additives.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we've got to stop putting an X over the sodium like this. Are leg cramps a side effect of dehydration? Yes, they can be, but also the imbalance of electrolytes, especially like magnesium. So 100% important. I just thought, cute comment. So Pam says, I drink 4 liters of water a day. Your body will adjust. But in the meantime, you will find all the bathrooms.
You will.
Very, very true.
Pam. I agree.
Yeah, just know your little outlets.
Maybe a couple weeks worth and you can.
But that goes with anything, guys. Our bodies are tricky, and they're not overnight fixes. They're not going to just adjust because we change something. You got to give it time and be patient. All right.
The body, even like a pretty hardcore athlete lose 10 grams of sodium a day or something like that, or I don't know what the average person loses, but certainly a fair amount.
All right.
I think there was another question too. Let me see. No, covered them all. Right on. Awesome.
Oh, you had some written down already?
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me, guys. Trying to hang in there. All right. Awesome. Great questions. Thank you guys so much for coming out today, learning all about hydration, how much water we need to drink, what's the hype with these electrolyte drinks. Make sure you go to our website, livegood.com, check out our newest launch, our hydration amplifier. Not only do our prices beat the competitors, guys, but the ingredients. A lot of times you're also going to see on some of the other labels, not just the added other stuff like sugars, but also with magnesium. They're not telling you what form it is. So if you have one of those, why don't you write the company and inquire, because there's cheap, less effective forms of magnesium. We always focus on our magnesium glycinate, which is designed to increase the body's blood levels of magnesium.
Guys, go out and look and compare the prices too. Are you kidding me? Once again, Live Good did it. I mean, high quality ingredients.
Yep, that's our goal.
Yeah, and check it out too. You've got the acerola that I told you about. So you've got natural lemonade, obviously organic lemon juice powder, and a little bit of stevia. Just honestly, very, very little bit of stevia. So
right.
And the salt, of course. So good. Oh, another thing, quality of the salts. Other brands, you got to be careful with salt. Not all salt. Basically, all salt's contaminated to some extent, right? It comes from the earth, and there's a few different ways to source salt. We sourced our salt and test our salt. The certificate of analysis will show you no metals. We did a few different tests on it to make sure, and we're good to go. We're good to go. So cautious of some of the other brands, and I even made a comment about how the Himalayan salt can sometimes be contaminated with different things, and so
like microplastics.
Yeah, microplastics and some of the fragments of the explosive they use and different things like that. So we did not talk about the quality of water today. Maybe we'll do it on another day. But again, try to get your water from an RO with a post filter on it that adds back some minerals for the water. But either way, careful with your water. Watch out for PFAS. I know we're trying to get PFAS out of our water supply, so. Know your source of drinking water and try to minimize those plastics, guys. That's
awesome.
all I got for you today.
Thank you, guys. Until next time.
All right.
See you later.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.